You're listening to Stand Tall and Own It, the podcast for high-performing female leaders who are ready to make an impact by discovering the safety that comes from understanding their own value and exercising their own authority. I'm your host, Andrea Johnson, and I'm here to tell you it is time to just truly be you, my strong friend. It's time to stand tall and own it. Hey, I want to know if you can relate, all right? This is a topic that a lot of people deal with, but specifically people like me who are in the DISC, a high I, which if you follow me at all, you know I'm a DISC consultant, and the high I is the influencer or the outgoing, people person, but motivated by a fear of rejection. And in the Enneagram, I'm a 6, wing 7, which means that I have authority issues, shocker, but I am the loyalist. I am the one who really prefers to have things kind of like, I need to know where I stand with people, right? A lot of 6s are the ones who are like thinking about the worst case scenario, etc. But the biggest deal with 6s is that we don't trust ourselves. So what I want to see today is if you can relate to not trusting yourself. Now, that can look like lack of confidence. It could even look like arrogance. It looks like insecurity. It looks like anxiety. It looks like constantly polling the people around you to make a decision. Gosh, I am so guilty of that. But what's important to know is that it's something most of us deal with. Some people are really good at understanding who they are and what they offer and such. But if you're like me, if self-trust is an issue, I want to offer you some encouragement. If it's not, you can just go to the next one, whatever. Because you may not need this particular advice, but it might be that there's somebody in your life that does. So maybe don't scroll to the next one. For those of us who do struggle with trusting ourselves, some of it stems from being told that what we think or say is wrong or doesn't matter, especially when we're young, right? I was famously told by my mother, who loved to have the floor, and y'all, I love my mother, right? But I was famously told by my mother that not everybody wants my opinion. And I had to learn that as I grew older and as I was more educated and as I got more experience, I famously tell my age, I'm 56, right? As I developed more experience and wisdom, people do come to me for my opinion. You're listening to me right here, right? So evidently you want my opinion. Evidently what I have to say helps you. And when we know that for those of us who struggle with self-trust or self-doubt, you can put it either side of the coin. A lot of times we're told that at a very young age, that for some reason we can't trust what's in our mind or in our hearts. Sometimes it stems from being raised in a culture where it is more important to be the same as everyone else than it is to be different. And if you're different, you're a little SOL, right? It's like you're out of luck. And for me, I was different in the sense that I just didn't think the way everybody thought. I was a strong female in this, the demographic or the culture in which I was raised. And I'm still in that culture. I just don't identify with all of it anymore. And if you're wondering, it's the Southern evangelical culture. My parents were missionaries and my husband is still a pastor. But I have come to understand that I was created specifically with things to do. And one of those things to do was to lead. And in order to do that, I have to believe in myself and I have to have that trust. But another place that it stems from so the first place it stems from is being told that what we think doesn't matter or what we have doesn't matter. Another place it comes from is the culture in which we are raised. And another place it comes from is the environment or the jobs or the experiences that we have in either school or work that tell us that we either don't have what it takes or we are not important enough for our opinion to matter. Now, that makes it sound like everybody around me was terrible. They're not. There were very few people who were purposefully mean to me. I can name them. There may be this many, just really mean people. But at 56, that's not bad to have like maybe, sorry if you're not watching this on video, I held up 10 fingers, all 10 of my fingers. I can name several of them who were purposefully mean to me and purposefully told me to sit down and shut up. But not many actually did that. Most of where my lack of self-trust comes from, or my, what some people would say is your self-doubt comes from, is in my own heart and in my own head. And I have learned to combat that by doing things like deciding that it's okay, by giving myself permission. And this is a concept that I'll talk about a lot as we move forward in this new iteration of my podcast and the community that we're in. But giving myself permission to either be wrong, to change direction, to be right. I know those sound like, Andrea, how could you have those things together? But those are very real things. Giving myself permission to put an opinion out there and actually not argue it. Giving myself permission to say, this is what I think, and actually not feel a need to combat anybody who doesn't think the same way I do. Giving myself permission to stand out or be different. All of those things help me, that's one piece, that helps me to know that it's okay to believe in myself, that helps me combat my own self-doubt. The other piece is remembering that it's going to pop up every single day, because that's how I'm wired. My word for today, if you go back through my feed, you'll know exactly when I recorded this, because I put a word for the day out there every single day, and my word for today is acceptance. Who do I need to accept? Me. Exactly as I am, with all of my flaws, with all of my wonderfulness, with all of my own self-doubt, and be able to say, this is who I am, this is how I was created, and whether or not I fully believe that it's okay to trust myself, I'm going to do that today, because I'm smart, I'm educated, and I have people around me that love me and are not going to let me walk off a cliff. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's real. The people around me love me and support me. My audience loves me and supports me. My family loves me and supports me, even if y'all don't. My friends, my church, they all love me and support me. My clients love me and support me. So I have decided today to accept myself. I am very curious, and I would love to know, can you relate? Do you struggle with self-doubt? Do you struggle with what it means to be able to trust yourself? If so, are you also an Enneagram 6? Are you also a DISC I? I'd be very curious to know. So please, find me over on Instagram, drop a comment, do whatever it takes to get in touch with me. Andrea at The Intentional Optimist if you want to email me. I am eager to hear how you, number one, struggle, but number two, what are the things that you do or that you give yourself permission for to actually combat self-doubt? Until next time.